Ready?
And speed, action.
Harold, the last time I saw you was at a barbecue in the Grand Canyon, remember?
I certainly do.
National Lampoon's Vacation. And we all thought you had a hit, but my word.
We went pretty far. Yeah, it was good. It was very satisfying.
What did you finally gross on that?
Almost exactly $60 million, which was good.
Well, I think you've got another one that could do that, or maybe even better with Ghostbusters.
Well, we're hoping for more, actually. Our greed knows no bounds on this one.
Is there any chance at all that you'll do a sequel to Vacation?
A sequel will be made, probably this fall, starring the same cast, Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo, and the children. Not Imogene Coca, though.
No, we kind of did away with her.
This time it's the Griswold family goes to Europe.
Oh,
and
please.
I think it's a major disaster. Also written by John Hughes. And I think it'll be directed by Amy Heckerling, who did Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
On location in?
Yes, they'll go to Europe.
Fantastic,
Yeah.
fantastic. In Ghostbusters, the special effects, Richard Edlund, of course, is just the master, isn't he?
He is great.
They're just fantastic. But I'm wondering, for you actors, and especially with a comedy and special effects, how do you know where you're going with the timing?
Well, I remember one sequence where we see a ghost deep in the stacks of the New York Public Library, which is early in the film. And we had a tremendous fear reaction. We were supposed to run backwards down this hall looking like the Three Stooges, basically. And all we were reacting to was an electrician standing there waving a paper plate. And it's very strange, but they can help you out with mechanical effects. Like whenever we see a big apparition in the film, they're also blasting us with compressed air, which can help when they hit you with 150 pounds of air right in the face. You know.
Gets your attention.
Yeah, it really does.
You seem, Harold, I don't know you that well, but the times I've been around you, you don't seem as off the wall as Dan Aykroyd and as Bill Murray. Now, in actual fact, are you, and you're just, giving me another side of Harold Ramis?
I'm more on the wall than they are. It's definitely true. I think I have hidden somewhere deep inside me is an alter ego that's a lot like Bill's or Dan's or John Belushi. I mean, I admire those guys for the incredible courage it takes to be as crazy as they are. I wish I was more like that. And I think the way I express it is in the things that I write, for them or with them, and in the kinds of comedies that I do. I mean, people often seem surprised, based on the films that I've worked on. They think that people will say, "Oh, you're so much smarter than your films," or "You're so much more serious than your films." But I think the films reflect the side of me that I don't really get to express. I'm a husband and a father, and being a director, requires that you act like everybody's father, and like everyone's psychiatrist as well. So I don't get to act out a lot, and I just channel it through the writing, I think.
How do the others treat you? I know you're one of the group, but then are they more apt to, when you speak, listen to what you say?
I don't know. I don't know. I know that in every gang you've ever seen on TV or in films, there's always a character who's called the Professor or Doc or Specs, So I'm Specs, The guy with the glasses is supposed to be smarter, so I get that kind of respect.
Harold, did you actually know John Belushi?
Oh, quite well. Yeah, we worked together on stage for a year in Chicago in early 70s, and then for a year here in New York at the National Lampoon. Yeah.
Of course, this book is coming out, Wired, by Bob Woodward, who did All the President's Men, co-authored that with Carl Bernstein. Were you interviewed by Bob Woodward?
Yeah, spent some time with Bob.
Have you read the book or the excerpt?
No, I'm hearing terrible things. People that really knew John the best and loved him the most probably won't be pleased by this book.
And so you don't have any idea whether your input is reflected in the book, is that?
Well, there's so many sensational aspects to John's life. I really felt when I talked to Bob Woodward that those things did not need more comment. So we had a pretty clear understanding that the purpose of our talk was to discuss John's early years at the Second City and what he was like then, which is really, and at the National Lampoon, which is when I knew him best. And enough people will talk about the sensational side, I think.
When you think of John and you have a memory that makes you chuckle or laugh or that's just very warm, what memory comes to mind?
Oh, well, I'd quit Second City after a year in it, and I'd gone away to Europe to just to loaf. And I remember getting a letter from Joe Flaherty, who was in the company, saying that they'd hired a replacement for me, a little Albanian, and he's very funny. And I came back to Second City and rejoined the company. And I had had a favorite spot on stage, which was upstage about 11 o'clock. Because upstage is a very strong spot to work from, because you're behind the other actors. And we were doing an improv, and I made a big entrance into the scene, and I was heading for my favorite power spot on the stage, and there was John just planted right there, you know. He'd sort of, and wiggling his eyebrows in that crazy way at the audience, and I loved him. I mean, he had sort of usurped my position, but it was okay because he was so funny. And I remember he would get laughs. He would walk out on the stage, and without saying a word, the first time the audience would see him, they would just start laughing. And it was the most wonderful thing. And he was very healthy at the time, and looking very good and feeling good. And it was a joy to see him, at his peak, functioning like that.
I think it was just the way he was built. It did give him, you looked at him and you think, if you aren't a comic, you ought to be, you know.
Well, we used to tease him, call him Lou Costello and things like that.
And he loved it?
Oh, yeah.
Was he ever sensitive about being a little chubby?
Oh, sure. But he also had a Brando complex, and he always felt he looked a little like the young Brando, and a little like Napoleon. He had pictures of Napoleon in his house. And John loved to pose. He would always catch him looking in mirrors, making faces in mirrors, trying out new looks for himself. He was a lot of fun to be around, and so strong as an actor. We toured the East in a show for the National Lampoon, which was not the greatest show in the world, and there were some rough moments with the audience. But he had this incredible power on the stage that would just triumph over the material, really, and we would always come out pretty well, no matter what.
I knew him too, of course, only as a media person, but I had great affection for him. Harold, I just think Ghostbusters is going to be such a big hit. It's such fun, and it's wonderful to see you in front of the camera, since last time I saw you, you were behind the camera.
Right.
So we'll be looking forward to your next venture, I guess, which will be the sequel to Vacation. Huh?
No,
No?
I'm not involved.
Oh, you're not
No.
involved?
Don't believe in sequels.
Ah, okay. Glad we got that cleared up.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good to see you.
Same here. Thanks.
Cut. Let's do it. Yeah, the matching is, we were a little tighter on him, but we're
Okay.
better here on
Yeah,
him.
okay.
Right about yours. Speed.
Will there be a sequel ever to National Lampoon's Vacation? Will it be shot on location in Europe? There are so many marvelous special effects in this movie, but especially since it's a comedy, how do you actors get your timing? Isn't that a big problem? What is it like to make a comedy with all these special effects? You somehow seem not as off the wall as Aykroyd and Murray. Do the others ever kind of look to you as the person for the final word? Were you interviewed by Bob Woodward? When you think of wonderful, funny, warm memories of John Belushi, what comes to mind? Was John ever sensitive about being chubby? Now I'll just give you reactions. Should do it.
Okay, now we gave you some tighter